The knocking started at 3:33 a.m. 3 slow knocks, deliberate, patient. I stood in my hallway, frozen, staring at the door. Through the peephole, I saw myself standing on the porch. Same clothes, same face, same scar above my left eyebrow, smiling. But I was inside. The thing is, when you see something impossible, your brain doesn't just accept it. It fights. It scrambles for explanations, mirror tricks, hallucinations, exhaustion, anything but the truth staring back at you through a scratched peephole at 3 in the morning. But some truths don't care if you're ready for them. There are moments in life that split reality in half, before and after. Moments where everything you thought you understood about the world cracks, shatters, reforms into something darker, something that doesn't quite fit together the way it used to. This is the story of my moment. The night I learned that sometimes, the most terrifying thing you can encounter isn't a monster or a ghost or something from beyond. It's yourself. My name is David Miller. I'm a software engineer, 32 years old. I live alone in a rental house on Maple Street, in a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon. Nothing special about me. Average height, average build, average life. Nothing supernatural had ever happened to me before that night. I was the kind of person who rolled his eyes at ghost stories, who had logical explanations for everything, who believed in science and reason and things that could be proven. I don't believe that anymore. It was October 14th, a Tuesday, the kind of cold that seeps through windows and makes old houses groan and settle. Rain had been falling all week, that constant Pacific Northwest drizzle that never quite stops. The kind of weather that makes you want to stay inside with the lights on and pretend the world outside doesn't exist. I'd been working late, like always, debugging code, fixing errors, the kind of work that makes hours disappear without you noticing. My apartment was silent except for the hum of my computer and the occasional creak of settling wood, the kind of silence that makes you aware of every sound, every breath, every heartbeat. I remember looking at the clock on my screen, 3:27 a.m. I should have been in bed hours ago, but I was close to solving a problem, and when you're that close, sleep doesn't matter. I was about to save my work and shut down when I heard it. 3 knocks. Not frantic, not rushed, not the kind of emergency knocking that means something's wrong. Just 3 slow, measured knocks on my front door. At 3:30 in the morning? Before we go any further, before the door opens and everything changes, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because here on this channel, every story leaves a different shadow on those who listen. A shadow that follows you home, that waits in corners, that reminds you that reality is thinner than you think. And trust me, you'll want to be ready for what comes next. I should tell you, I'm not the kind of person who scares easily. I've lived alone for years. 6 years to be exact. Since my divorce, since Sarah left and took the dog and half the furniture, and any illusion I had that I understood how to connect with another human being. I'd heard strange noises before, pipes rattling at night, wind against windows, cats fighting in the alley behind the house, drunk college kids stumbling home from the bars downtown. The world is full of sounds that seem scary until you identify them, but this was different. This knock felt intentional, purposeful. Like whoever was outside knew exactly what time it was, knew exactly when to arrive, had been planning this moment. I stayed in my chair, frozen, listening. My apartment was on the 2nd floor of an old converted house, a Victorian that had been chopped up into 4 units back in the 1970s. To get to my door, someone would have to walk up the driveway, climb the external wooden staircase, and cross the small landing. 14 steps. I'd counted them hundreds of times. I would have heard footsteps. The wood was old. It creaked under the lightest weight. There was no way to climb those stairs silently. But I'd heard nothing. Just those 3 knocks appearing out of silence like they'd materialized from nowhere. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a neighbor. Mrs. Chen from downstairs sometimes had insomnia. Maybe someone drunk who got the wrong door. Maybe someone needing help. Medical emergency, car broken down. But at 3:30 a.m., on a Tuesday, in the rain? I stood up slowly, my chair squeaking against the hardwood floor. My apartment was dark except for the blue glow of my computer screen casting long shadows across the walls. I moved toward the door, each step making the floorboards creak beneath me. The door was old, solid wood, painted white, though the paint was chipping around the edges. It had 3 locks. I'd installed the 3rd one myself after someone's car got broken into last year. The peephole was brass, tarnished with age, scratched, distorted. I pressed my eye against it, trying to see into the darkness outside. And that's when I saw him. Me, standing on my porch. Under the weak yellow glow of the porch light, I never remembered to turn off, wearing the same gray hoodie I had on, the one with the faded logo from a tech conference I'd attended 3 years ago. Same jeans, same old Nike running shoes with the frayed laces, same messy brown hair that I kept meaning to cut. Same tired eyes with the dark circles underneath from too many late nights. He was looking directly at the peephole, like he knew exactly where I was, like he could see me through the door. And he smiled. Not a friendly smile, not a confused smile, not the kind of smile you give a stranger when you're lost and need directions, but a knowing smile, the kind of smile that says, "I've been waiting for you to look. I knew you would. I know everything you're going to do before you do it." The kind of smile that makes your blood turn to ice. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. My shoulder hit the wall behind me. My mind scrambled for an explanation, grasping at anything that made sense. A mirror? No, impossible. The angle was wrong. There was nothing reflective on the porch. A twin? I don't have a twin. I'm an only child. My mother had complications during birth. The doctors told her I'd be her only one. A look-alike? But how would someone know exactly what I was wearing right now? At 3 in the morning? In my own apartment. I'd been home since 6 p.m. I hadn't left, hadn't opened the curtains. Nobody could have seen me. A prank? But who would go to this length? Who even knew where I lived? I didn't have friends who visited. My co-workers didn't have my address. I'd made sure of that. I stood in the darkness of my apartment, 3 feet from the door, listening, waiting. My heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Nothing? No footsteps walking away, no sound at all, not even breathing. Just silence, heavy, oppressive, waiting. Have you ever felt truly afraid in your own home? Not startled by a sound or spooked by a shadow, but genuinely, deeply terrified? That primal fear that makes your legs weak and your hands shake? That makes your mouth go dry and your thoughts scatter? That makes you want to run but you can't because there's nowhere to run to? That's what I felt standing there in the dark, staring at my own front door. The door I walked through every day. The door I locked every night before bed. The door that was supposed to keep the world out and keep me safe inside. Suddenly it felt like the thinnest barrier imaginable, like paper, like it wasn't protection at all, just an illusion. I don't know how long I stood there. Time felt strange, elastic. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. My phone was still in my hand, the screen dark now, the automatic timeout having kicked in. Then the knocking came again. 3 knocks, same rhythm, same pressure, same deliberate spacing. Knock, knock, knock. And then a voice. My voice. "David, I know you're in there." The words were muffled through the door, slightly distorted, but unmistakable. My voice, my cadence, my tone, even the slight rasp I get when I'm tired, even the way I pronounce my own name, with that soft D at the end that Sarah used to tease me about. "Just open the door, David. We need to talk." My mouth went dry. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be real. I was hallucinating. I had to be. Maybe I'd fallen asleep at my desk. Maybe this was a nightmare. A vivid, terrible nightmare. I'd wake up any second with my face pressed against my keyboard and a crick in my neck. But I didn't wake up. The voice came again. Different now, softer, almost gentle, almost kind. "David, please, I've come a long way. Just let me in. We don't have much time." Time for what? My thoughts were racing, crashing into each other like cars on a highway. Panic, confusion, fear, questions without answers. Should I call the police? And tell them what? That I was standing outside my own door? That I was knocking on my own apartment? They'd think I was having a breakdown. Maybe I was having a breakdown. How do you explain the impossible to someone who lives in a world where impossible things don't happen? I grabbed my phone from my pocket with shaking hands. The screen lit up, painfully bright in the darkness. 3:37 a.m. The battery was at 43%. The date was October 14th, Tuesday. Everything was normal. Everything except the man outside who had my face. I opened the camera app with trembling fingers and switched to the front-facing camera, holding it up to the peephole. Sometimes cameras see things differently than eyes do. Sometimes they reveal tricks, mirrors, distortions, explanations. Through the screen, I could see him more clearly. The image was distorted, grainy, but there was no mistaking it. It was me. Every detail, every single detail. The small mole on my left cheek, just below my eye. The way my hair fell across my forehead, always falling to the left, no matter how many times I tried to train it right. The tired shadows under my eyes, purple-gray from years of poor sleep. The faint stubble along my jaw because I'd forgotten to shave yesterday. The slight asymmetry of my face, my left eye just a fraction lower than my right, something I'd always been self-conscious about. Even the scar, the small white line above my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike when I was 7. You can barely see it unless you know to look for it. He had it.
It was perfect.
Too perfect. He stood completely still, staring at the door. Not moving, not blinking, not swaying or shifting weight the way people do when they stand in one place for too long. Just waiting, patient, like he had all the time in the world. "I can wait all night, David," the voice said calmly through the door. "But you'll have to open the door eventually. You know you will." Something about the way he said it made my blood run cold. The certainty, the confidence, like he knew something I didn't. Like this was all part of some plan I didn't understand. Like he'd seen this moment before, lived it before. Like he knew exactly how this was going to end. I backed away from the door, moving toward my bedroom. My legs felt weak. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The phone nearly slipped from my grip. I needed to think. I needed to understand what was happening. I needed to be somewhere with a locked door between me and whatever that was. In my bedroom, I locked the door behind me, even though I knew it wouldn't help. If something could look exactly like me, if something could know my voice and my face and every detail down to a childhood scar, a locked bedroom door wouldn't stop it. But it made me feel better. Some illusion of safety, some barrier, however thin. I sat on my bed, phone clutched in my hand, and tried to think rationally, logically, the way I'd been trained to think. Break down the problem, examine the variables, find the solution. Explanations. There had to be an explanation. A doppelganger. But those are just myths, aren't they? Stories, folklore. German legends about seeing your double-meaning death was near. Not real. Not actual physical beings standing on your porch at 3 in the morning. A clone. Ridiculous. Impossible. Cloning technology existed, but not like this. Not perfect. Not instant. Not showing up at your door in the middle of the night. A look-alike. But the scar, the mole, the exact clothes, the voice. How? Technology. Deepfake. Hologram. But I could see him breathing. See the slight rise and fall of his chest. See the way his weight shifted from one foot to the other. See the raindrops on his hoodie, the fabric darker where water had soaked through. Advanced technology then. Something experimental. Something I didn't know about. But why me? I'm nobody. I write code for a mid-sized company. I have no enemies, no secrets. Nothing worth this kind of elaborate setup. My mind kept circling back to the same impossible conclusion. It was me, actually me. Somehow, some way that defied everything I understood about how the world worked. I opened my browser and searched with trembling fingers. Seeing yourself outside your door. Doppelganger appearing at night. Seeing double of yourself. Meeting your clone. Most results were about folklore, German legends, Norse mythology, stories about Vardøgr, a Norwegian spirit that arrives before you do, that people see as a premonition, bilocation, the phenomenon of being in two places at once, religious figures throughout history, who supposedly appeared in multiple locations simultaneously, One article mentioned a woman in Illinois in 2003 who saw herself standing in her driveway one night, wearing the same clothes, same face. She refused to go outside, called the police. By the time they arrived, the figure was gone. 3 days later, she died in a car accident on Highway 57, lost control in the rain. The article suggested seeing your doppelganger was an omen, a warning, death was coming. Another article talked about quantum theory, parallel universes, the many worlds interpretation, the idea that somewhere, somehow, in another dimension, there could be another version of you, living another life, making different choices. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes those worlds touch. Sometimes the barrier between them thins. Sometimes you can see through to the other side. But those were just theories, mathematical models, thought experiments, not reality, not something that shows up on your doorstep and knocks 3 times. And yet, something was standing outside my door, something with my face, something that knew my name. I don't know why I did what I did next. Maybe curiosity, maybe some desperate need to understand. Maybe I was hoping I'd look and find nobody there, that it had all been a hallucination, a trick of exhaustion and stress and too many late nights, that I'd look through that peephole and see an empty porch and laugh at myself for being so scared. I walked back to the door, moving slowly, quietly, my bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. The apartment was silent. No knocking, no voice, nothing. Maybe he'd left. Maybe whatever it was had given up and gone away. I pressed my eye to the peephole again. He was still there. But now, he was closer, right up against the door. His face filled the entire peephole, distorted by the fisheye lens. His eye, my eye, staring directly back at me through the scratched glass. And he whispered, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. I remember this moment, David. I remember being you, standing right where you are, scared, confused, heart racing, hands shaking. I remember how cold the floor felt under your bare feet, how the apartment smelled like coffee from this morning's cup you never washed, how fast your heart is beating right now, 120 beats per minute. I remember all of it, every thought, every fear. Because I am you. I just chose differently. The words hit me like ice water. Chose differently? What did that mean? In my timeline, the voice continued, soft and patient and terrifyingly calm. I opened the door. I let myself in, and everything changed. My whole life, everything I thought I knew, it all shifted. Now I need you to make the same choice. Because if you don't, if you turn away now, everything falls apart. For both of us. For everyone. My mind was reeling. Timeline? Both of us? Everyone? This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen in the real world. In my world. My boring, logical, predictable world. I know you don't understand, he said. I know you think you're going crazy. I thought the same thing, but you're not. This is real. I'm real, and you need to trust me. Open the door, David, before it's too late. Too late for what? I heard myself say. My voice came out as barely a whisper, hoarse and broken. Silence. Long silence. Then, a sound I'll never forget. A laugh. Quiet. Sad. Bitter. The kind of laugh you make when you realize a terrible joke is on you. For me to stop what's already started. For me to fix what I broke. For me to save her. Her? Who was her? You don't know yet, the voice said, like he could hear my thoughts. Maybe he could. You haven't met her, but you will. In 6 months, at a coffee shop on Burnside. She'll order a vanilla latte and drop her phone, and you'll pick it up and hand it to her, and she'll smile, and you'll think you've never seen anyone so beautiful in your entire life. My breath caught. How did he know? Her name is Emma, he continued. Emma Rodriguez. She's a teacher, 3rd grade. She loves old movies and terrible puns, and she laughs like music. You'll fall in love with her. Completely. Totally. The kind of love that makes everything else seem small. I was shaking. Not from fear now, from something else, something I couldn't name. And then you'll lose her, because of a choice you make, a wrong turn, a moment of hesitation. And you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what if, wondering what could have been if you'd been braver, smarter, better. Tears were running down my face now. I don't know why. I didn't know this woman. Emma. I'd never met her. This was all impossible. But something in his voice, something in the way he said her name, it felt true. I found a way back, he said. I found a way to cross over, to come here, to this moment, to give us both a chance. But it only works if you let me in. If you make the choice I didn't make the first time. What choice? I whispered. To be brave, to trust, to open the door when fear tells you not to. My hand was on the doorknob. I don't remember reaching for it. I don't remember deciding. But there it was, cold metal under my palm. David, please, I don't have much time. The window is closing. If you don't open this door in the next 60 seconds, I'll be pulled back, and you'll lose your chance. Your only chance. How do I know you're telling the truth? I asked. How do I know you're not something else? Something wearing my face? Another pause. Then softly he said, August 17th, 1993. You were 7 years old. You fell off your bike trying to impress Tommy Chen, split your eyebrow open, needed 6 stitches. Your mom held your hand the whole time. You didn't cry. Not once. And when it was over, she bought you strawberry ice cream even though you weren't supposed to have sugar before dinner. My hand tightened on the doorknob. Nobody knew that. Nobody except my mother. And she died 4 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. No goodbye. She was proud of you that day, he said. She told you that bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. I was sobbing now. Full, body-shaking sobs. My mother's words. Her exact words. Words I hadn't thought about in years. Open the door, David. Be brave. My fingers found the first lock. Turned it. Click. Second lock. Click. Third lock. I paused. My rational mind screaming at me, don't do this. Don't open the door. Don't trust this. This is how people die in horror movies. This is how everything goes wrong. But another part of me, a deeper part, was whispering something else. What if he's telling the truth? What if this is your chance? What if you spend the rest of your life wondering? 30 seconds, his voice said. I turned the third lock, and then footsteps, walking away, fast, down the stairs, the wood creaking under his weight. He was leaving. I yanked the door open. The porch was empty. Nothing but darkness and the faint glow of the streetlight at the end of the block and the steady patter of rain on the steps. He was gone. I stood there, frozen in the doorway, cold October air rushing in, sharp and biting. The porch was empty. No footprints. No signs anyone had been there. No wet marks from rain-soaked shoes. But on my doormat, there was something. A photograph. I picked it up slowly, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. It was old. The colors faded to that slightly orange tint old photographs get, the edges worn and soft, the surface scratched. It was a picture of me, or someone who looked exactly like me, standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. A blue house with white trim and a garden full of roses. A woman stood next to me, her arm around my waist, my arm around her shoulders. She was beautiful, dark hair falling in waves past her shoulders, dark eyes, kind eyes, smiling that smile that lights up your whole face. I'd never seen her before in my life, but the version of me in the photo looked happy, genuinely, deeply, impossibly happy. The kind of happiness I wasn't sure I'd ever felt, the kind I wasn't sure I was capable of feeling. We were holding hands, both wearing wedding rings. There were 2 children in the photo, a boy and a girl, maybe 6 and 8 years old. His arm, my arm, around both of them. A family. My family. In some other timeline, some other life. I flipped the photo over with shaking hands. On the back, in handwriting I recognized as my own, were 4 words and a date. You made the choice, June 15th, 2034. 9 years from now. I went back inside and locked the door. Triple-checked it. Then I sat on my couch and stared at the photograph until the sun came up, painting my apartment in shades of gray and gold. I never saw him again. Not at my door, not anywhere. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone in my apartment, when the silence gets too heavy and the walls feel too close, I think about what he said, about choosing differently, about timelines and parallel lives, and the roads not taken. I think about the woman in the photograph, Emma Rodriguez, who I haven't met yet, who I won't meet for 6 more months. And I wonder, if I had opened the door that night, would I have found the answers? Would I have learned what choice I'm supposed to make? What wrong turn to avoid? How to keep her? Or would I have lost myself entirely? Would I have become him? Would I have traded my life for his? I still have the photograph. I keep it in my desk drawer, wrapped in tissue paper. Sometimes I take it out and look at it, at that other version of me, the one who looks so happy, the one who got the family and the house and the life that looks like something from a catalog, the one who made a different choice. They say everyone has a doppelganger somewhere in the world, someone who looks exactly like you. Same face, same features, same eyes, a genetic coincidence, random chance. But what they don't tell you is what happens when you meet them. When you look into your own eyes and realize that maybe, just maybe, you're looking at something more than a stranger who happens to share your face. Maybe you're looking at the person you could have been, should have been, would have been if you'd zigged instead of zagged, if you'd been braver, if you'd said yes instead of no, if you'd opened the door instead of keeping it locked. The road not taken, the choice not made, the life not lived. To this day, I still lock my door at night, still check the peephole before I answer, still listen for footsteps on the stairs, still wake up sometimes at 3:33 a.m. and lie there in the darkness, listening to the silence, wondering if tonight's the night he comes back. Because part of me wonders if he'll come back, if he's waiting for another chance, another moment where our timelines might cross, another 3:33 a.m. when the barrier gets thin and the impossible becomes possible. And part of me wonders, what if next time I open the door? What if next time I make the right choice? Or maybe I already did. Maybe keeping the door closed was the right choice. Maybe opening it would have been the mistake. How do you know? How do you ever know? It's been 6 months now, almost exactly. 6 months since that October night when I saw myself on my porch. 6 months of waiting, wondering, watching. Tomorrow is April 14th, a Tuesday, just like that night. Tomorrow I'm supposed to meet someone at a coffee shop on Burnside. A work colleague set it up, a blind coffee date. They said she's a teacher, sweet, funny, recently single. Her name is Emma. I don't know if I'm gonna go. I've been standing in my apartment for the last hour, staring at the photograph, trying to decide. Part of me wants to see if it's real, if she's real, if that happy future in the photo is possible. But another part of me is terrified. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I lose her? What if I spend the rest of my life knowing what I had and threw away? What if the only way to keep something is to never have it in the first place? I look at the photo again, at my face, his face, our face, at the smile that looks so real, at the woman whose name I now know, at the children who don't exist yet, who might never exist. You made the choice, it says on the back. But which choice? Going? Not going? Opening the door? Keeping it closed? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know. But I know one thing. Tonight, when I go to bed, I'll lock my door. All 3 locks. And if I hear knocking at 3:33 a.m., I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll look through the peephole and find nobody there. Maybe I'll see him again, my other self, with more warnings, more choices, more futures I haven't lived yet. Or maybe I'll see her, Emma, standing on my porch, smiling, waiting. And maybe that's when I'll finally be brave enough to open the door. If this story made you look over your shoulder, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below if you've ever experienced something you couldn't explain. Something that made you question reality itself. Something that made you wonder if the life you're living is the only one possible. Because here, the fear always comes back, when you least expect it. And remember, somewhere out there, another version of you might be making different choices, living a different life, standing at a different door, looking at a different photograph. The question is, which version is real? Which one made the right choice? And which one is just a reflection in the dark, wondering what could have been? Maybe we're all just reflections, all just possibilities, all just choices not yet made. And maybe, on certain nights, when the world gets quiet and the barriers get thin, we can see through to the other side, to the other versions, the other lives, the other doors we didn't open. Sweet dreams.